The galaxy watched Earth prepare to die. 18,000 Dominion warships surrounded the planet, their weapons already locked on every major human city. Behind the fleet stood 3 planetary destroyers, machines capable of cracking a world open in minutes. Supreme Commander Varek appeared across every human screen. His face was calm. Almost bored. Humanity has 24 hours to kneel. The countdown appeared beneath his message. 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. The galaxy waited for humanity's response. It never came. No president spoke. No admiral threatened retaliation. No human fleet launched. Earth simply went silent. Varek smiled. They understand. But then, at exactly 23 hours 41 minutes and 12 seconds, something happened that made every Dominion officer stop breathing. Earth's moon disappeared from their sensors. Not destroyed. Not moved. Erased. The Dominion fleet immediately scanned the lunar orbit. Nothing. Then Mars disappeared. Then several human satellites. Then an entire region of space beyond Neptune vanished from every sensor simultaneously. Varek's smile disappeared. What are the humans doing? Nobody answered. Because something much worse had appeared on their tactical screens. A signal. It wasn't coming from Earth. It wasn't coming from the moon. It wasn't coming from any human ship. It was coming from behind the Dominion fleet. One Dominion officer whispered. "Commander, there is something behind us." Varek turned toward the tactical display. A single red point had appeared in the darkness. Then another. Then 10. Then 100. Then thousands. The objects weren't moving. They were simply waiting. Varek ordered the fleet to turn. Nothing happened. The ship's navigation systems had locked. Weapons stopped responding. Communication channels died one after another. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Dominion fleet experienced something its victims had felt countless times before. Fear. Then every Dominion screen went black. A single human sentence appeared. "You gave us 24 hours. 3 seconds of silence followed. Then another line appeared. "You should have asked what we needed them for." Deep beneath Earth, ancient machinery began to awaken. And for the first time, Supreme Commander Varek realized the horrifying possibility. Humanity had never been preparing to surrender. It had been preparing to answer. The first thing Supreme Commander Varek noticed was not the ships. It was the silence. 18,000 Dominion warships floated above Earth, but none of them could communicate. Their engines were frozen. Their weapons refused every command. Even the smallest navigation adjustment was impossible. Then the red points behind them multiplied. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. The Dominion tactical officer stared at the display in disbelief. "Commander, we're being surrounded." Varek's voice remained steady. "By what?" The officer enlarged the image. Nothing appeared. Only darkness. No hulls. No engine signatures. No identifiable energy output. Just empty space. Yet the sensors insisted something was there. Varek ordered a weapons scan. The response came instantly. Targeting system error. He ordered visual confirmation. Every external camera showed the same thing. Stars. Nothing else. Then one star moved. The bridge fell silent. Another moved. Then another. Varek slowly understood. Those weren't stars. They were enormous ships positioned so perfectly against the background that they had become invisible. Human ships. But that was impossible. Earth didn't possess a fleet large enough to surround 18,000 Dominion warships. "Identify them," Varek demanded. The intelligence officer ran the data through every database. Nothing. No records, Commander. "Then find their origin." The officer hesitated. "That's the problem." A map appeared. The mysterious fleet wasn't coming from Earth. It wasn't coming from the solar system. The ships had arrived from dozens of directions simultaneously. Some had emerged from deep space. Others appeared to have come through regions where faster-than-light travel was supposedly impossible. And then something even stranger happened. One human vessel moved forward. It was enormous. Its hull was completely black, absorbing the light around it. No insignia. No visible weapons. No engines. Just a single white symbol painted across its side. Earth. The Dominion fleet finally received a transmission. A woman's voice filled every bridge. Calm. Controlled. Almost gentle. This is Admiral Elena Ward. Varek immediately opened a channel. You're bluffing. A quiet pause. Then Elena answered. No. The tactical display suddenly changed. The Dominion saw thousands of red markers surrounding them. But those weren't human warships. They were human colonies. Hidden stations. Mining worlds. Research bases. Artificial habitats. They had been watching. Waiting. Preparing. Varek's blood ran cold. How long? Elena didn't answer. How long have you been hiding these forces? This time, Elena smiled. Long enough. The mysterious fleet suddenly began moving. Not toward Earth. Toward the Dominion ships. Varek ordered every weapon to fire. Nothing happened. His weapons were still locked. Then Elena delivered the sentence that terrified him more than any threat. You came here believing Earth was alone. The lights of the hidden fleet ignited simultaneously. And that's why you made your first mistake. The countdown continued. 21 hours 6 minutes and 44 seconds. Humanity still had more than 21 hours remaining. And the Dominion was beginning to realize. They had already lost the first battle. The Dominion fleet had stopped laughing. For the first time since the invasion began, Supreme Commander Varek stood before a tactical display he could not understand. Human ships surrounded his fleet. Not attacking. Not retreating. Just watching. That frightened him more than weapons ever could. Why aren't they firing? Varek demanded. No officer answered. Then a Dominion sensor officer suddenly shouted. Commander. We're detecting another signal. The bridge went silent. Varek turned. From Earth? No, sir. The officer's hands trembled. From beneath it. A massive energy pulse erupted from the planet. For 1 second, every Dominion sensor overloaded. Then something appeared on the tactical display. A structure. Buried beneath Earth's crust. It was impossible to determine its size because its outer walls extended beyond the scanning range. Varek stared at it. What is that? The intelligence officer searched ancient human records. His expression slowly changed. Commander, we found a reference. Read it. The officer opened an ancient transmission recovered from a human archive. It was more than 100 years old. A man's voice spoke through static. If you're hearing this, humanity has failed to keep the galaxy away from Earth. Varek's eyes narrowed. The recording continued. Do not activate the Ark unless the enemy believes humanity is defenseless. The message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Varek slowly looked toward Earth. They planned this. No, Commander, the intelligence officer whispered. They planned something much worse. Suddenly, every human ship surrounding the Dominion fleet turned off its weapons. One by one, their engines went dark. Varek frowned. Why are they stopping? Then the hidden structure beneath Earth opened. A column of blue-white light erupted from the planet and reached into space. Every human ship vanished inside it. The Dominion fleet remained alone. Varek smiled. They've abandoned the battlefield. But his intelligence officer was staring at the sensors. No. What? They didn't disappear. He enlarged the display. The human ships were no longer surrounding the Dominion fleet. They were somewhere else. Far beyond the solar system. Hundreds of light years away. Thousands. Then the sensor detected something enormous. A second Earth appeared on the display. Then another. Then another. Varek's face went pale. They weren't planets. They were artificial worlds. Hidden human strongholds. Thousands of them. For generations, humanity had quietly expanded beyond the borders of known space. But there was one problem. If humans had been preparing for the Dominion for this long, why had they allowed themselves to be discovered now? Before anyone could answer, the Dominion fleet received a transmission. Not from Earth. From somewhere beyond the known galaxy. A human voice spoke only one sentence. Phase 2 has begun. Then every Dominion ship received the same coordinates. The coordinates pointed directly toward the heart of the Galactic Dominion. Varek stared at the numbers. For the first time, he understood. Humanity wasn't defending Earth anymore. Humanity was coming for the war. The Dominion had conquered civilizations for 300 years. But when the human coordinates appeared on every command screen, something happened that no military officer in the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Dominion's central command went silent. The coordinates were impossible. They pointed beyond the outer boundary of Dominion space, into a region officially classified as dead space. No civilization lived there. No jump routes existed. No known ship could survive the gravitational storms. Yet the human fleet was heading there. And they were not alone. Across the galaxy, hidden human ships began emerging from the darkness. One fleet became 10. 10 became hundreds. Their numbers kept increasing. The Dominion intelligence network struggled to count them. Then an officer whispered the number. 32,000. Varek stared at him. That's impossible. The officer shook his head. Sir. I'm still counting. Varek immediately ordered the Dominion's strongest fleets to intercept them. 300 warships jumped into hyperspace. Only 11 returned. The survivors were damaged beyond recognition. Their crews couldn't explain what had happened. They had entered dead space. And found it wasn't empty. Something had been waiting there. The Dominion fleet arrived hours later. There was no battle. No explosions. No wreckage. Only a gigantic structure floating between two dead stars. It looked like a doorway. Millions of kilometers wide. Ancient. Silent. Human. Varek stared at the enormous structure. What is that? Admiral Elena Ward appeared on the Dominion communication screen. Behind her, dozens of human commanders stood silently. She looked tired. Not afraid. It's a door. Varek laughed bitterly. You expect me to believe humanity built that? No. Elena paused. We found it. The bridge became silent. Varek's smile disappeared. Found it where? Elena looked toward the stars behind her. Outside the galaxy. For the first time, the Dominion understood why humanity had spent centuries exploring the darkness. Humans hadn't been searching for new worlds. They had been searching for something. Something the Dominion had never known existed. Elena activated the structure. The doorway began glowing. Space itself appeared to bend around it. Then a signal came through. Not human. Not Dominion. Something older. Something vast. The translation system struggled. After several seconds, 3 words appeared across the screen. We remember you. Every human commander went silent. Elena's face changed. The Dominion officers noticed immediately. She was afraid. Not of the Dominion. Of whatever was on the other side. Varek finally understood. Humanity doesn't control that door. Elena slowly looked at him. No. The doorway opened. A darkness deeper than space appeared beyond it. And neither do you. Something enormous moved inside. The Dominion fleet raised every weapon. Then another message appeared. 24 hours remaining. Elena stared at the countdown. 18 hours 3 minutes and 27 seconds. She whispered. Now we find out why they gave us the ultimatum. And something on the other side of the door began coming through. The first thing to emerge from the gateway was not a ship. It was a shadow. It crossed the stars without moving, swallowing the light around it. Dominion sensors failed one after another as something impossibly large approached from the other side. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then a Dominion officer whispered. That's not a vessel. Admiral Elena Ward stared at the gateway. No. Her voice was barely audible. We don't know what it is. That answer terrified the Dominion more than any human threat. Because humanity had built its entire reputation around preparation. Humans always had a plan. Always had a weapon. Always had another move. But now Elena was staring at something humanity itself didn't understand. The enormous shadow finally entered normal space. The Dominion fleet saw a structure larger than a moon. Its surface was covered with countless glowing patterns, as if entire cities existed across its hull. No engines were visible. No weapons were visible. Yet every ship around it suddenly lost power. Varek shouted for his fleet to attack. Nothing happened. The alien structure had disabled them without firing a shot. Then every human ship received a message. Not through radio. Not through their communication systems. The message simply appeared inside their command displays. You opened the door. Elena's face went pale. Another line appeared. Now pay the price. Suddenly, the gateway began collapsing. The human fleet closest to it tried to escape. Several ships vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Simply erased from existence. Elena ordered every vessel to retreat. But the mysterious structure moved forward. It wasn't attacking the humans. It was moving toward the Dominion fleet. Varek finally understood. The humans hadn't summoned a weapon. They had summoned something that had its own target. "Human Admiral," he shouted. Elena looked at him. "What did you bring here?" She didn't answer. Then a transmission reached her alone. An ancient human voice. The voice from the century-old recording. "If the door ever opens, do not fight what comes through." Elena froze. The recording continued. "Because it isn't coming for humanity." A second message appeared. "It's coming for the Dominion." Elena looked at the enormous structure. For the first time, she understood why the old architects had hidden the gateway. Humanity had not built a weapon. Humanity had discovered a prison. And the Dominion had unknowingly brought itself directly in front of it. Varek ordered every remaining ship to retreat. The fleet jumped. One by one, the ships vanished into hyperspace. But one ship remained. The flagship. Its engines refused to activate. Something had locked onto it. The massive structure moved closer. Then every Dominion screen displayed a final message. The 24 hours were never your deadline. Elena stared at the words. Her eyes widened. They had been counting down to the wrong thing. The deadline wasn't for humanity to surrender. It was counting down to the moment the prison opened. The countdown reached 12 hours. Across the galaxy, every Dominion communication network suddenly activated at once. No one had ordered it. Every screen displayed the same image. Earth. But it wasn't the Earth everyone knew. The planet was covered in thousands of glowing structures, ancient human installations hidden beneath oceans, mountains, deserts, and cities. The Dominion finally understood. Earth had never been a simple homeworld. It had been a lock. And humanity had been the caretaker. For centuries, humans had protected a secret they barely understood. Until the Dominion arrived. Inside the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Varek stared at the impossible structure approaching his ship. Humanity knew this existed. Admiral Elena Ward answered through the communication channel. Some humans knew. Then why didn't you destroy it? Elena's expression hardened. Because we couldn't. The massive structure suddenly emitted a pulse. Every Dominion ship within millions of kilometers lost power. Then the pulse reached Earth. The oceans began glowing. Mountain ranges illuminated from beneath. Hidden doors opened across the planet. The galaxy watched as enormous underground structures rose into orbit. They weren't weapons. They were containment stations. Humanity had been maintaining them for generations. And now they were failing. Elena received a warning. Containment integrity, 40%. She looked toward the gateway. What happens at 0? The scientist beside her didn't answer immediately. Then he whispered. Everything comes through. A terrible silence followed. The Dominion fleet had been preparing to destroy Earth. Now Earth was the only thing standing between the galaxy and whatever waited beyond the gateway. Varek realized the situation before the humans did. If that thing escapes, he said, the Dominion falls. Elena looked at him. Not just the Dominion. She turned toward the stars. The galaxy. For the first time, human and alien commanders shared the same fear. Then the impossible happened. The enormous structure stopped moving. Its surface opened. Millions of lights appeared across its hull. They weren't weapons. They were windows. Behind them were countless figures. Ships. Thousands of them. Millions. Entire fleets had been trapped inside. The Dominion intelligence system attempted to identify them. It failed. Then one symbol appeared. A symbol the oldest civilizations in the galaxy recognized. The symbol of the First War. The war that had supposedly ended before modern galactic civilization existed. The war everyone believed was nothing more than ancient mythology. Elena stared at the symbol. My God. The scientist beside her whispered. They survived. Varek demanded an explanation. Elena finally answered. Those aren't prisoners. She looked at the endless fleet inside the structure. They're the original architects of the gateway. The lights suddenly turned toward Earth. Every human ship received the same transmission. Caretakers detected. Then another message appeared. Purpose of the door, restored. The gateway began opening wider. Elena's voice shook. What purpose? A final message appeared. War. The countdown continued. 11 hours 47 minutes and 3 seconds. And somewhere inside the ancient prison, something began preparing an army that had been waiting for millions of years. The countdown reached 6 hours. Across the galaxy, every major civilization watched the same impossible image. The ancient gateway was open. Millions of ships waited beyond it. And none of them moved. They were waiting for one command. Then Earth received a transmission. Not from the Dominion. Not from the ancient fleet. From humanity's own buried archives. Admiral Elena Ward listened as an old human voice spoke. If you're hearing this, then the Dominion has forced the door open. Elena's breathing stopped. The recording continued. We discovered the truth 143 years ago. Images appeared across her command room. Human explorers entering dead space. Ancient ruins. Destroyed civilizations. And finally, a symbol identical to the one on the ancient fleet. The voice continued. The beings behind the door were not imprisoned because they were evil. Elena stared at the screen. They were imprisoned because they believed peace was impossible. The recording showed planets covered in ruins. Billions of lives lost. Civilizations fighting until nothing remained. Then came the final revelation. The ancient beings had once controlled most of the galaxy. They didn't conquer worlds. They eliminated every civilization capable of starting another galactic war. Humanity's ancestors had discovered the door and somehow convinced them to stop. In exchange, humanity became the caretaker. The secret was passed from generation to generation. Until the Dominion arrived. The recording ended with one final warning. Never let them see the galaxy as it is now. Elena understood. The Dominion's centuries of conquest had made the ancient fleet believe the galaxy had failed again. And now they were preparing to finish what they started. She turned toward the Dominion flagship. Commander Varek. His face appeared on the screen. You wanted humanity to kneel. Varek said nothing. Elena continued. You thought we were afraid of your fleet. She looked toward the ancient armada. We were afraid of what your fleet would wake up. Suddenly, the ancient ships moved. Millions of vessels emerged from the gateway. But instead of attacking the Dominion, they surrounded Earth. Human ships immediately raised their weapons. Varek smiled. The humans have been betrayed. Elena's eyes remained fixed on the ancient fleet. No. She looked at the tactical display. Every ancient ship was pointing its weapons toward the same coordinates. Not Earth. Not the Dominion. The entire galaxy. Then the largest vessel transmitted a message. Galactic war pattern detected. The stars began turning red. Purification protocol, active. Panic spread across every civilization. Varek finally understood. Humanity had never been trying to defeat the Dominion. Humanity had been trying to prevent this exact moment. Elena opened every communication channel in the galaxy. Her voice echoed across billions of worlds. Listen to me. A pause. If you want to survive. She looked at the countdown. 2 hours 17 minutes and 44 seconds. You will have to trust humanity. For the first time in galactic history, humans and aliens began forming a single fleet. Because humanity had discovered the only thing more terrifying than an enemy empire. An enemy that believed the entire galaxy was beyond saving. The countdown reached 10 seconds. Across the galaxy, millions of ships stood frozen beneath the shadow of the ancient fleet. Human warships formed defensive lines beside former enemies. Dominion vessels that had spent centuries conquering worlds now waited beside civilizations they had once enslaved. Nobody knew what humanity's final plan was. Not even Admiral Elena Ward. Then the countdown reached. 3 seconds. The ancient fleet activated. 2 seconds. Every star in the surrounding systems went dark. 1 second. Earth transmitted one final message. Not to the ancient fleet. To every civilization in the galaxy. Remember why we survived. The countdown reached 0. Nothing happened. The ancient fleet remained motionless. Varek stared at his tactical display. What did humanity do? Elena looked toward Earth. Then she smiled. We reminded them who they were. The human fleet suddenly opened every communication channel. Across the galaxy came thousands of voices. Alien voices. Human voices. Former enemies. Former victims. Civilizations that had survived wars, invasions, famines, and extinction. They spoke together. Not as soldiers. As witnesses. They told the ancient fleet what the galaxy had become. Not perfect. Not peaceful. But alive. Then Elena transmitted the final message. You believed war was inevitable because you only remembered the civilizations that destroyed themselves. She paused. But you forgot the ones that chose to rebuild. The ancient fleet remained silent. Then its largest vessel responded. Why should we trust you? Elena looked at the Dominion flagship. Then at the billions of worlds watching. Don't. The galaxy went silent. Trust each other. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then the ancient fleet's weapons began powering down. One by one. Across millions of ships. The red stars returned to normal. The gateway began closing. But before it disappeared, the ancient commander sent one final transmission. Humanity. Elena answered. Yes. A pause. You were given 24 hours to kneel. Elena smiled. And? The response came. You used them to unite the galaxy. The gateway closed. The ancient fleet vanished. The Dominion's empire collapsed soon afterward. But humanity never claimed the throne. Instead, Earth called for the first true galactic assembly, one where conquered civilizations had the same voice as ancient powers. Years later, historians would ask why the most powerful civilization in the galaxy had refused to rule it. Admiral Elena Ward gave the answer that became humanity's most famous lesson. Because strength isn't proven by how many people you can force to kneel. She looked toward the stars. It's proven by how many people stand beside you when they finally have the choice. And that became humanity's greatest victory. Not defeating the galaxy. Not conquering it. But teaching the galaxy that fear could unite people for a moment. While trust could change civilization forever.